Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Schubmel. I'm a class of 2002 in math from Harvey Mudd, and I'm joined by...
My name is Autumn Preskill, and I'm the class of 2009, also a trustee.
Autumn and I would like to talk to you today about building our future campus, and we'd like to do that in a little bit of an interesting way by starting all the way back at the beginning at Harvey Mudd's founding and talking about how our physical space has enabled us to do the amazing things we've done so far and how we see that space needing to evolve in the future to enable us to continue to do those things going forward. So the beginning. In 1956, when Joe Platt, our founding president, was hired, Harvey Mudd had only one building on our campus, and it was a pool. And it wasn't our pool, it was Scripps' pool. But it stuck around for quite a while, and you can see the area highlighted in Harvey Mudd gold here was, some scrubland, a couple of little houses. This was the space on which sort of the core of the campus would eventually be built. And so one of the first things that the initial board did with Joe Platt's leadership was find an architect to design a master plan for the campus. So this was a model of the initial master plan for the campus. And you can see here on the eastern edge of the campus, there's these 4 U-shaped buildings, which those of you who know the campus today will immediately identify as the inner dorms, so residential space. And then on the western edge of the campus, there's this long L-shaped building next to the pool. That was the auditorium, the dining hall, and the bathhouse was envisioned for those buildings. And then on the far western edge of campus, we have 2 L-shaped buildings, one for classrooms and faculty offices, and the other for administration. So you'll note that this whole plan was done by Edward Durrell Stone, who's a sort of well-known architect. And you'll note that for a science and engineering school, or a liberal arts college of science and engineering, there were notably no science and engineering buildings included in this initial master plan. So that was phase 2. So you can see the part that's darker here on the right, that's the model you just saw. And then off on the side, it says, basically future science and engineering buildings to be determined, right? So this is very sort of typical of the necessity of those early days of Harvey Mudd, right? In order to start a school, you have to build the spaces that you need, but we really did it just in time. So the first faculty hires and the administration were actually not housed on the campus because our very generous neighbors were willing to loan us some space. So now Claremont McKenna College, at the time Claremont Men's College, loaned us their Pitzer Hall North, so really sort of 2 5C connections there. So the faculty and staff had their offices there. And the first building that we needed to build on campus was a dorm for the incoming class. And so we did the construction on that dorm sort of just in time for the first class to arrive. And we continued to construct other dorms as that class advanced to the next year. So this photo on the right here is a construction photo from the construction of West Dorm. And it is possible that this gentleman is a construction worker obeying the latest safety protocols as they existed in 1957. Or it is possible that these are students and West Dorm got an early start on its culture of, let's say, bending the rules in creative ways. So the next major thing that needed to be done, in the early days, we got by with sharing lab space with CMC and with some of the other colleges. But the feeling was that the junior class, the initial class of students in 1959, would need more advanced lab space. And so from that need was born a plan to construct a science and engineering building. Those of you, again, who know the campus today, if you squint, this looks like kind of familiar, although a little different. And actually, this is the one wing of the Jacobs Keck building that was later sort of reskinned to match the rest of the buildings in the Lieber complex, which we'll talk about in a second. So one of the stories that Joe Platt told about this building that I really liked was that it was supposed to be done in September of 1959, but it wasn't quite ready on time. There were some construction strikes. And so in order to accommodate that, he said, In the meantime, it was fine. We just did experiments in the hallways of other buildings and outside, right? So it really sort of embodies the Harvey Mudd spirit of we're going to make amazing things happen, even if we don't necessarily quite yet have the amazing spaces that we really want for that to happen in. So the last major piece on the academic side of campus was the construction of classroom and faculty office space and buildings for administration. So these were those two L-shaped buildings, which actually turned into U's in reality. Joe Platt, so these were built in 1961, and Joe Platt said that it was with a real sense of coming of age that our faculty and administration moved to the Harvey Mudd campus. We had thoroughly appreciated the privilege of living with relatives, but it is a joy to have a house of one's own. So with the completion of these buildings, one of which was actually on the site that we're on right now, that was the first time when sort of all of the academic functions of campus were actually housed on the campus. So that was like, one key milestone in becoming a real college, so to speak. The last piece was on the residential side. So this building on the north end of campus here, the very large U, is the Platt Campus Center. And so with the construction of that in 1963, it was completed in 1963, for the first time, all of the residential functions of campus were also housed here on Harvey Mudd's campus. So that included a dining hall and space for student government and student support functions, things like that. So this is what the entire campus looked like as of roughly the 10th anniversary of the school. So that sort of marked the end of the just-in-time era of construction for Harvey Mudd's buildings, and we started to dream a little bit bigger about what kinds of spaces would we need to really expand to the full size that we envisioned for the school. And so a plan was devised to combine this tall central building, which would be the math, science, and engineering library for the entire 5 Claremont colleges, with these 2 U-shaped buildings on the side. And remember, 1L of that building on the left is already constructed. That was the science and engineering building at the beginning. And these buildings would house labs and offices for the faculty in the natural sciences and also in engineering and the humanities, social sciences, and the arts. And it would all be tied together by an easy to navigate underground maze of tunnels that led to this lecture hall here that you can see on the bottom. So 2 things that are interesting to me about this, this plan. One is that full size at the time was envisioned to be 400 students, and those of you who know the college today know that we are a bit larger than that now. And the other thing I really like just about this rendering is that you can see on the sides there's sort of some very vague detail, and I initially thought that was to call attention to the buildings in the middle, but I think maybe that's actually just an accurate representation of what the air in Claremont looked like in the 70s. So those of you who've been outside today can see that air pollution control actually works quite well, right? So you can see the mountains. All right, so fast forwarding to today, there's the Libra complex. It was built successfully, but I actually want to move away from the academic end of campus for a minute and talk about how the residential side has evolved. So this building on the right here that we're flying over with the skylights is the Hoke Shanahan Dining Hall. That actually is able to support our current 900 students at our current size. You can still see the 4 inner quad dorms here. Those now have modern features like air conditioning in Southern California, which is cool. So some renovations. The old President's House on the side. And then over on the left is the Lind Activities Center, which brought physical fitness facilities to the campus for the first time. So, courts and weight rooms and things like that. And then finally, here are the outer dorms, as the students call them. So there's 5 dorms, and they've really brought a different sensibility than the let's get it built just in time for the class to move into it sort of mentality of the early days. So these buildings are some really amazing spaces. I want to focus on one in particular, which is the most recent one we've built. So it's the one sort of over on the left side here. So this is Drinkward Dorm, named for the prior board chair, Wayne Drinkward, and his wife. And it was finished in 2015. And this is really just a completely new kind of dorm. Really changed the way that we thought about building these buildings. So I'm sure many of you have seen that, in higher education, some places it's like, oh, the new dorms, they have like pools and spas and, things like that. That's not really what we're talking about. We're talking more about really enabling Harvey Mudd's mission through allowing students to work in ways that are that match the ways that they want to collaborate. So really cool building. It's LEED silver. The building, left half of the building here is suites. So that's basically like a small individual lounge with rooms arranged around it. And then the right half of the building in the photo is more of a traditional sort of residence hall. So like rooms, hallways of rooms with like shared bathroom facilities and things like that. All connected by this beautiful sort of light-filled lounge with a nice kitchen. It's a great space for events. And you can also see, sort of in this picture, there's like some, outdoor couches and things like that, places for students to gather in sort of smaller groups rather than the early model, which was just one giant lounge for everybody. Right? But one of the coolest things about this building is the way that it really enhances the educational experience for the students. So rather than having just one giant lounge, there's a lot of these sort of smaller lounges scattered throughout the building that allow students to collaborate. And so you'll note that this room has walls that are glass. And what are the students doing with those glass walls? Well, they serve as whiteboards on which you can do your problem sets late at night with your classmates, right? So rather than having to, go find some space on the academic end of campus, they're really able to work and collaborate right in the space where they live, which is a really cool way for them to be able to work together, which is sort of the essence of the Harvey Mudd approach to education, is collaboration rather than competition. All right, so heading back to the west, we're going to return to the academic side of campus. And so I want to focus on this building coming up here on the right. So this is actually the building we are currently sitting in right now. It's the Shanahan Center for Teaching and Learning. And the vision for the building was to bring all of the amazing classes that were taught at Harvey Mudd out of the basement and up into the light. So that involved a little bit of creative destruction. This was the Thomas Garrett building, the first classroom and office space on campus. But in place of those 10,000 square feet of usable space, we got this, a 70,000-foot building that houses the math department, the admissions office, the president's office, and most of the classroom space that's in regular daily use on Harvey Mudd's campus. There's also a cafe, and it's really been transformative in terms of the way that we teach. So I actually had the pleasure of sitting in on a class yesterday. And I'll tell the story in a minute. But some of the other spaces that are in the building, there's a music performance hall, which was not a space we'd ever had on campus previously, and then also outdoor classroom space. So finally taking advantage of this beautiful Southern California sunshine so that we can do work together and collaborate outside. So I just wanted to add one quick note on the class that I visited yesterday. So when I took real analysis here as a student, it was in a lecture hall with fixed desks that all just pointed forward. But I had the pleasure to join Professor Zinbrooks' analysis class yesterday, and it was amazing. So all the tables have wheels. The students rolled them into little groups around the room so people could work together. There was modern AV technology, so we could see, real-time note-taking on an iPad, and then students flipped their own tablets open and did a proof live in LaTeX in real time, which is more stress than I was willing to endure, so I didn't participate in that part of it. We just proved ours on, the old-fashioned paper. But it was really a transformative classroom experience in a way that wouldn't have been possible in that other lecture hall. So I just want to emphasize that while we're talking about the physical spaces, what we're really talking about is the kinds of things that we can do in those spaces that we wouldn't have been able to do in a more traditional classroom setting. All right, so just one more building I want to talk about. We're going to fly sort of all the way to the western edge of campus. And the building over on the far left here, which is our newest academic building, is the one that I wanted to talk about. So this is the McGregor Computer Science Center, and it houses two main functions. One is obviously the computer science department, which is finally united in a single building. And the other is the makerspace on the ground floor. And one of the cool things about this building is that it opens to the south, so it's welcoming to students from the other colleges to come and join some of the cool things that are going on at Mudd. So the makerspace is what I'll talk about first, and it's really just incredible. If you have one chance to visit an academic space today, I would recommend you check it out. It's got all kinds of collaboration space for students to work in small groups, team meetings, things like that, but also all manner of laser cutters, 3D printers, a welding booth, a digital loom, an old-fashioned printing press. And students are able to use this both for classroom projects and for personal projects. So just really transformative space. The computer science portion of the building has also been amazing. So not only are the faculty all housed in offices in the same place for the first time, there's little sort of breakout collaboration spaces scattered throughout the building, along with transformative things like the pair programming lab, where we basically have one computer with 2 keyboards and 2 mice hooked up to it. So students are forced to work together and think through their ideas carefully as they collaborate on solving problems. So this building has also just been amazingly transformative in terms of what we're able to do on campus, really changes the way that we're able to teach and the way that the students are able to learn. So amazing, amazing addition to the campus. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to Autumn, who's gonna talk a little bit about where we are today and where we're going in the future.
Great, thank you, Michael, and thank you for sending us through that lovely history of our built environment and what it's done for us so far. Now I want to tell you about some of the challenges that we are having with the amazing otherwise buildings that you've heard about here. One of the things that we are experiencing is the fact that we are really bursting at the seams. We have 921 students enrolled, and on the last count, on the residential end of campus, we have 923 beds. Now, I was not a math major, but my engineering degree will tell me that that is an insufficient safety factor. It's made more complicated by the fact that all of the spaces that can be used as triples with 3 students or quads with 4 students are used that way. So there's no real flex in that way, and those are also not the most popular ways to live as a college student. Even worse, even another thing that we've done to handle this problem is we put 19 students in the former president's house. This is actually not originally designed as a residence hall and was for the president before Harriet Dempard. And students are actually living there now because we just need space to put them. But what you will see in this delightful, obviously AI-generated image, even though our dorms are full to bursting with all these students, they are still very happy, and they are doing all their work. And that's actually what we see. They're busy doing amazing things. There are many, many ways to actually slice through that. This is a quick and dirty one, and that's the number of awards that they are winning. So our students are routinely winning national and international awards as the best researchers in the country or maybe around the world. And this is something that just comes through the Harvey Mudd newsfeed. If you pay attention to it, there's an award, probably once a month at least, more often. And, it's a constant rate. All these students are getting there through the amazing pedagogy that the professors here are providing. And they are providing that to them in the 4th best science building on the 5 college campuses. And it turns out that that building is that same one that Michael was talking about that was originally built in 1959. So this is pretty great. We love the things that are going on with our students and where they are going. And I would like us to think about maybe what more they could do if those facilities that they had were ready to meet their capabilities and ambitions. For the next talk after this one, you'll hear a whole bunch of new ideas about how to make things even better and try new things for academics, for the student experience, and for our built environments. I will let those people give you all the details about that, but what I want you to think about right now is where those things are actually going to happen. So this is an overview of what the campus looks like. There are a few spaces in here that I'll talk about. This is your official disclaimer that the things that I'm saying are subject to change. Please do not hold me or the institution accountable for where we're actually putting these, because someone may come up with a better place for them. But for right now, the first space that we think we could really use is a new innovative lab space. On the current master plan, we have 50,000 square feet of state-of-the-art lab space located just to the north of Olin in the northwest corner of campus. And we believe that this lab will enable our students and our faculty to work on the same types of things that they're doing now, but at an even higher level and with state-of-the-art, cutting-edge types of labs that we don't currently have. We also believe that this space can be designed to be more collaborative and more interdisciplinary. So one of the things that we are really good at as an institution is bringing together disciplines that aren't always together and doing new things with them. So one great example of this is our recent climate science major and climate science department. So we now have joint majors with climate science and chemistry, climate science and computer science, climate science and biology, and also mathematics. And students who are coming to our campus to do all these things are going to want to be training on multiple different types of lab equipment, and they're going to want to be working with different faculty easily and in ways that we may not even be able to foresee today. But with the right environment, our faculty can design new ways to support those students and their learning. Another thing that we believe would really benefit our students is a 20,000 square foot student union. In addition to being great at academics and math and science, our students also really care about each other and they care about their community. And so what this building would enable is for them to come together to do things like have student clubs, have affinity groups, work together for student governance, and really just take care of each other and the side of them that is not 100% focused on STEM. As President Nemhard likes to say, we want students who are good at STEM and also good at life. And we believe that this type of building would help support that. Additionally, we would be able to reach students for student support services even quicker and even easier, things like mental health, or just other ways for students to rest and recuperate and become the people who are ready to get up in the morning and do that next problem set, that next research paper, clinic innovation, whatever they are working on. And then I also want to point out to you really quickly where this currently is. That is the footprint of the Garrett House, where those 19 students are living right now in a not currently residence hall. So what is the other thing that we might need on this campus? A new residence hall. So we would like to propose a 63,000 square foot, 148 bed new dorm for the residential end of campus. Our students really have been enjoying the space at Drinkward, and we want them to have more of it. That's our most popular dorm. It is routinely full, oversubscribed for room draw, and we actually very rarely take it down for maintenance because that's always a tension. Can we take it down? Can we fix things and get students right back in there because they love it so much? One other thing that we would really like for all of these spaces is for them to be spaces that are sustainably designed. So for the last, 2 decades or so of buildings that we've been putting in, we've really been focusing on adding more and better sustainable design elements, whether that be LEED certification or just using the latest and greatest materials or building energy efficiency and design standards. So one possible lens that we could look at is something like a living building. This type of building is a building that generates its own energy, cleans its own wastewater, filters its own air. And these sorts of things are sort of experiential learning for our students, in that they would literally be breathing the air of the things they're interested in studying. And many of our students are actually coming to this campus for this issue in particular. So having their built environment really living up to what they want would really be a huge value add for them, I believe. So in conclusion, why do we need these new buildings? Well, it's because the world needs Harvey Mudd, and the world needs Harvey Mudders to go out and do what they do. We already have a lot of impact, and we have plans for even more impact. Our current built spaces aren't quite ready for what we have planned. But that's not to say that the people here will not do what they always do and do something amazing and unforeseen in those spaces anyway. But if we can provide them with built spaces that rise to the level of ambition that they have, then their dreams can be realized that much more quickly and that much more easily. And that's something that we all need. That's what the students need, that's what the faculty needs, and that's what the world needs. So, in conclusion, thank you.